Hello, beautiful Liberty Church family. This weekend we're doing something pretty different in that we're doing a tag team preaching situation where I'm taking the first part of the message and I'm talking with you about what the Lord is doing across the earth today. And then the second part of the message, your co-pastor will come and speak about how what the Lord is doing across the earth today applies to our church right here. Here's the bottom line. For the first time in probably 30 years, the Spirit of God is sweeping new things across this earth. And as someone who was birthed in the charismatic revival of the 60s and 70s, I know that I have yearned to see God move. And what God is doing, the same thing He's always done throughout history, He's moving in a younger generation. Every single time that God has moved throughout history, He started in the younger generation, the 18 to 30 to 35-year-old younger generation. And He got a hold of them, and He lit a fire in them and burned something in them, and they began to sweep across the earth. When that happened, in every case, the older generation had a choice. You can step back and get kind of stiff and defensive and say, well, they're challenging us on some things, and they have no idea what we've done and the price we paid and how godly we are. Or we can humble ourselves and say, God is moving again. In the 60s and 70s, I got born again in the 70s, there were young people just flooding stadiums and flooding parks and flooding churches. And there was a hunger and a thirst. And as someone who loves the bride of Christ as much as anyone ever has, in the 80s, the church became old and stiff. In the 90s, the church was stagnant and dead and embarrassing. And I'm here to tell you that in the past 5 to 10 years, God has struck a new generation and stirred a new generation. And if you're not aware of things like teen mania, if you're not aware that, from my perspective, I think there's been more new churches birthed in the last 10 years than I've seen in the last 20 to 25 years, and they're filled with these 18 to 35-year-olds, and they have energy and they have passion, and they're charging forward saying, let's make a difference on the earth. And the Passion movement, if you're not aware of that, I mean, last year Passion, New Year, they had 20-some thousand, and they turned away thousands. So this year they filled the Georgia Dome, and they said it could only be young people, and they packed the Georgia Dome, and they're down there for 3 days just to worship and pray and seek God. And again, I'm a history buff. If you didn't know that, I'm a history addict. I've literally read probably 400 or 500 Christian biographies, and especially Christian history. I've read multiple volumes of all of Christian history, and from the depths of my heart, I'm telling you that every time God moved, whether it was John Wesley and George Whitefield, when revival swept across England and America, whether it was Charles Spurgeon and Charles Finney, whether it was Martin Luther, who was a young man when he stood up to the Roman Catholic Church, and Hudson Taylor, who was used to bring a whole China nation to Jesus. It's always been the young. It's always been the moving of the young. And things have been happening in the past 5 to 10 years. And if you're not aware of it, I want you to be aware of it. And I've been aware of it, and I've been stirred. And this generation has brought challenges that have personally caused me to yearn for more of the Lord. And so the past 6 months, the co-pastors and I have had the most in-depth, intense, wonderful dialogue. Every single month for 6 months, we have been going through this book. We have never gone through a book more in-depth or more thoroughly. It's called Essential Church, Reclaiming a Generation of Dropouts, and it's by Tom and Sam Rayner, and he's head of Lifeway Publishing. What I appreciate about this book was it has hundreds of in-depth national surveys, and they talk about this generation and what they will not commit to and what they will commit to, and they just will not play games with church. And in this book he says, if we want this generation to consider church, the local church, to be essential, because Jesus considers the local church to be essential, and this generation is not anti-local church, they just have higher standards than we did. And their standards are, in fact, there's 4 core values in this, and the co-pastors may talk more about this, but there's 4 things that this generation, they say, if you want me to give my heart to a local church, you got to have 4 things. Number 1, you've got to have community in the church. You've got to have people who know my name, who care about me, who miss me, who want my passions and my callings to be released, and you've got to expect me and require me to serve other people. This generation comes in and they says, don't ask little things of me. Ask big things of me, expect of me, demand of me that I serve other people and minister to other people. The second thing this generation demands is they don't just want internal community, they want a church that cares about the people beyond the doors. They want a church that goes out and serves the hurting and goes out and serves the needy. And then the third thing this church demands is they will not take milquetoast word. They want word that is deep and rich and intense, and they want to be challenged in the word. And then the fourth thing they want is they will not take a back seat. They say, I want to be challenged to be a leader. And so these four things, and part of the stirring thing to me as the senior pastor of this church is those four things in some ways are some of our deepest core values. And we've actually paid a very, very dear price to be countercultural to the big church, you're just a number, pay your tithe and don't bother us. And we've gone against the current really for 20 plus years. And it's actually kind of shocking to me that instead of being the out of tune people, we're actually in tune people. I mean, you can't imagine how shocking it is because we've never been cutting edge. We're the weird ones on the side who demanded community and, as you know, give strong word and really challenge people and say that everyone has positions of leadership that we'd love for you to grow into. And so the co-pastors and myself, there's no words in a few minutes to describe how deeply we've been stirred and how we've humbled ourselves. And we said, God, let the next generation surpass us. Let the next generation lead us. And there's a lot of practical things that are going on in all 7 congregations and our corporate church in general. And I'm so excited. And I'm so thankful to God to see the Spirit of God moving across the earth this day. So before you co-pastors come up, let me ask you to do this. If you're one of the old ones like I am, and we paid a price and we've done so much, before you even hear anymore, will you humble yourself? Will you say, God, I'll pay any price to see you move on the earth today? I love you guys with all my heart. I'm so privileged to be your pastor because I do know your answer is yes before I even ask the question. I know your answer is I'll pay any price to have more of Jesus. And will you please now welcome your co-pastors? God bless you.